This is Miss Sandra. Today I want to introduce you to Faith Ringold. She's an American artist who lives in New York City. She works with all different materials, making paintings and quilts and sculptures. She's famous for her story quilts. These mix traditional quilting with paintings to tell stories. She's also written and illustrated children's books. One even started life as a quilt. Ringgold is an art teacher as well as an artist. When she was interested in trying a new material, she tried it first with her students. It was a good way for them to learn from and inspire each other. She's always told stories through her art. Sometimes she tells stories with pictures alone, sometimes with words and pictures combined. This is For the Women's House. Ringgold painted it in 1971. It shows different jobs and dreams for women. There's a female president with female reporters asking her questions, female police and construction workers, doctors and medical students, priests and drummers. Some of these things are more common now, but in this painting she imagined women driving city buses and playing professional sports years before they were allowed to, when drums were still just a boy's instrument. What can we do next? When she was trying to find a home for this painting, she told her daughter that she had to ask herself, do you want your work to be somewhere where nobody wants it, or do you want it to be somewhere it's needed? This is Tar Beach. It's the first in a series of 5 quilts called Woman on a Bridge. This is the story quilt Ringgold adapted into her book Tar Beach. Look at how she uses color and shapes. The quilt is a block with small blocks as borders, and then longer stripes of fabric. Those straight lines show off all the life and movement in her center painting. Would you like to have a party on the roof with the lights of the city above you? Have you seen any of the videos of people partying and picnicking on their roofs now, so they can both stay at home and enjoy the outdoors? Can you see the bridge in the background? That's the George Washington Bridge. Ringgold calls it her bridge, since she's had views of it all of her life. Is there anything you've always seen like that? If you look closely, you might be able to see that there are lines of writing above and below the squares in the quilt. That's the story that she turned into the book. She made new paintings for the book, all of them based on her quilt. The borders at the bottom of the pages are the fabrics from her quilt. The book opens with the girl flying and the words, "I will always remember when the stars fell down around me and lifted me up above the George Washington Bridge." To try to get a feel for telling stories the way Faith Ringold does in her art, we're going to make collages. That's when you mix different types of materials together and you put them on the same back. You'll need a pencil, crayons or markers, paint if you have some you want to use, glue, scissors, paper to glue your art to, and all sorts of scraps. Newspapers, magazines, wrapping paper, labels. If you have small pieces of fabric like she'd use in her quilts, if you have felt, you can use almost anything you can cut or glue, as long as it's okay with your grown-ups. And especially if you're going to use paint or lots of glue, maybe some extra paper to put underneath you while you're working. Start by making a large square or rectangle on your page. If you have a ruler handy, that helps too. Around that big square, draw lots of boxes. Next, draw a memory or a story or a dream of yours in the center box. Ringgold has used rooftops and bridges, scenes of New York City, apartment buildings, dancers, historical figures, even Thanksgiving dinners with family. So many different things can be used to tell a story. You can make it as simple or as fancy as you want. Next, cut scraps of paper or fabric to fill in the smaller boxes. Ringgold often uses repeating colors and patterns in the borders, and sometimes she adds details by painting over the fabrics too. If you don't find designs or patterns you like, you can always draw patches. Remember, she also uses words in some of her work. You can cut out words that are important to you or write down your own story pieces. If you see something while you're cutting out that's perfect for your center drawing, cut it out and add it in. The only rule in this is to use what you find to tell the story that you want to tell. So move things around, see what works for you, what tells your stories. Enjoy!